By fate's whim, a high school student ends up sharing a body with a cursed spirit and will enter a school of exorcists to fight other cursed spirits, where they perform spells with their hands, where they can also use their power to walk on water and talk to the demon within them in a space where only the two of them are present, in a team formed by a guy with white hair and covered eyes, an idiot without a cause, the serious one of the group, and the violent girl. Yes, nothing unseen before in the anime world. So get ready, because this is Jujutsu Kaisen. The story introduces us to Yuji Itadori, a teenager so athletic it's scary, because he runs super fast, has superhuman strength, and is part of the occult club because he likes paranormal things like his friends. His only family is his dying grandfather, who is hospitalized, and one day when he goes to visit him, after telling him to follow the path of humility by helping others to not end up alone, he dies in front of him. So following his grandfather's steps, he lives trying to help others. But that same night, a student from the school of sorcery named Megumi appears in front of him, who is looking for a cursed object that was supposed to be at the protagonist's school. But since he found it, he took it with his friends because they like paranormal things. So they went as fast as possible because, according to Megumi, that cursed object is very dangerous because it's actually the finger of a cursed spirit called Ryomin Sukuna, which attracts curses, monstrous specters that seek to devour the finger to gain power. And his curious friends removed the protective talisman and, as the saying goes, curiosity killed the cat because they were attacked by a curse. But don't worry, because Yuji and Megumi run to the school, kill the monster, save the protagonist's friends, recover the finger, and everything's perfect. Nope, because another curse appears that incapacitates Megumi, making him unable to fight. So Yuji sees no other option but to swallow the finger to fight the monster. Of course, since they said the finger gave power, he thought it was a good idea. Like swallowing a necrotic finger wouldn't give him any disease. The demon of the finger takes control of his body, giving him tattoos and eyes all over, kills the curse, and is ready to bring chaos to the earth like a good evil spirit. So Megumi was ready to fight him because literally, the demon possessed him, but there's a rare case where the human can retain the demon in their body. Conveniently, the case of our protagonist, because since he's the protagonist, obviously he can't die in the first episode. But even so, they wouldn't leave him alone, because the Kakashi of the anime appears. Satoru Gojo, Megumi's super powerful teacher with white hair and covered eyes, who, when he uncovers them, destroys the heterosexuality of many men and tests the protagonist to see if he can really control, invoking and dispelling the demon at will, and seeing that he can, he knocks him out and takes him to a room full of talismans where he tells him they're going to execute him, only if he doesn't cooperate, because his superiors want to kill him. But seeing that Yuji can retain the demon's power, he gives him a second option, to help collect all of Sukuna's fingers, which are 20 in total, and they currently have 6. There's no way to destroy them on their own, but now it's different because since he is the demon's vessel, if they kill him, they would also destroy the curse and end Sukuna. So they will look for the rest of the fingers, and once Yuji eats them all, then they would execute him. And since he has no family and his grandfather told him to help people, after saying goodbye to his friends, receiving his grandfather's ashes, and eating the second finger, he went to the school of sorcerers where you will learn everything he needs to know about sorcerers. Like how he can use special abilities thanks to a power called cursed energy. That sorcerers have different types of abilities, but all are capable of using an ultimate power called domain expansion, where all attacks always hit their enemy, that there are special weapons to fight the spirits, that sorcerers are the only ones capable of seeing cursed spirits, that there are also evil sorcerers called curses, that curses, like sorcerers, are divided by category depending on their strength, with 4 being the weakest and going up to 1, and above that is the special class, the strongest of all, and that cursed spirits are born from people's evil desire, like Principal Masamichi, who can bring stuffed animals to life to fight in, after beating him up with his stuffed animals, accepts him as a first-year student and has 2 companions, one being Megumi, who can summon animals like a white wolf and a black one, a giant snake, some frogs, a hawk, or even an elephant, and Nobara, the girl from the countryside who is looking for her childhood friend and fights with cursed hammer and nails. Apart from them, there are the second-year students. Toge, the guy whose abilities make everything he says come true. Well, it's easier to see than to explain, but due to his power, he only speaks in food language. Otherwise, he'll send you to the lobby. Then there's Maki, the waifu who has intra-family problems because she comes from a sorcerer clan that despises her for not being able to see specters or use cursed energy, so she has to rely on special weapons and glasses to fight. Panda, who is also a stuffed animal made by the principal but with 3 different animal souls, including a gorilla and another that isn't shown because it's shy. And there's another second-year student named Yuta who doesn't appear in this anime but is in the movie, but that's for another video. Subscribe if you want to see that summary. Then there are the sorcerer's assistants, like Kiyotaka, who gets bullied by Satoru and Akari, and the doctor, Shoko. The thing is, one day, the superiors, trying to get rid of the protagonist and taking advantage of Satoru being away, despite Yuji not knowing anything about using sorcerer powers, sent them against a special grade. The thing is, they weren't supposed to fight, they just had to recognize the area and save any survivors if there were any alive. Spoiler, there were none, and the cursed spirit kidnapped Nobara, killed Megumi's white wolf, and ripped off the protagonist's hand. Yes, it's that strong, so Yuji saw no other option than to bring out Sukuna to fight. Who initially said no, but then said yes. Sukuna killed the special braid. Apparently, it had one of his fingers, so he ate it. Regenerated Yuji's hand, but the protagonist struggled to return to normal, so Sukuna took the opportunity to cause some trouble, giving Megumi a beating. I don't really know what happened in the middle of the fight, but Sukuna ended up becoming obsessed with Megumi due to his wasted potential. After the fight, to prevent the protagonist from returning to normal, Sukuna ripped out his own heart so that once the protagonist takes control again, he would die in front of his companion. The superiors got their way this time. This obviously left everyone feeling bad, especially his teammates who were left depressed. But don't worry, he's alive and kicking. Yeah, something new. They think the protagonist is dead, but after a while, he comes back to life. Another thing we've never seen in the anime world. It turns out that inside Sukuna's domain, which is this place full of corpses and blood within the protagonist's consciousness, Sukuna tells him he can revive him only if they make a pact where whenever he wants, he must allow him to use his body for a minute, promising not to kill any companion in that time, but that he must forget about this pact, and since it's a pact, well, it can't be broken without suffering a penalty, so the protagonist accepts. Comes back to life, but it wouldn't be made public for the moment. Otherwise, they'd try to kill him again. So Satoru would train him with the most tiresome and insane method there is. Watching movies. Basically, he has to watch movies to control his cursed energy to become stronger by giving it to a plush of the principle that if he stops giving energy to, it will slap him. And while he was training watching movies, he ended up meeting the villain group of this anime and new supporting characters. Like Jago, a cyclopean spirit with a volcano head who can communicate like a human, the one with branches in the eyes, Hanami, who can control plant life, the tentacle-faced Dagon, Kenjaku as the spirit that possesses the body of a former comrade of Gojo named Suguru, and Mahito, a spirit capable of touching people's souls and deforming them. The thing is, all together, they have the same goal: replace the entire population with cursed spirits. For that, they first have to get rid of the sorcerers, they first have to get rid of the strongest one of all, Satoru Gojo, and they would also try to make Sukuna join them in the process. But as I just said, Satoru is the strongest sorcerer of all because he has the power of the limitless void, and with his domain expansion, it's more than proven how broken he is by giving Jago a beating. But my butt is more broken with that sexy look. My god, Satoru, how stylish you are. But Hanami just shows up to save Jago's head, so he escapes. So Gojo, to motivate the protagonist, tells him he will train him to become so strong that he can fight on his own against such strong monsters before the Exchange Festival, a 2-day festival where the Tokyo Sorcerer School competes against the Kyoto School, and for which Megumi and Nobara would be training with the second-year students. The thing is, while the protagonist was training, we also met Kento, a grade 1 sorcerer whom Gojo sent with the protagonist to investigate a case. It turns out they found 3 dead and deformed students in the cinema, and the only suspect is another student, a classmate of these 3 named Junpei. But he's not the killer. Actually, these 3 bullied him to the point of leaving cigarette burns on his forehead, which he covers with his hair. But that day, he saw Mahito in the cinema deforming them and followed him to learn from him because people treated him so badly that he grew to hate them, and Mahito agreed to teach him to use him, filling his head with the idea that people have no hearts, that they're all trash, that if he wants to kill someone, he should do it. But things change when he meets Yuji, who was interrogating him while Kento tried to exorcise Mahito, and in short, Kento couldn't exorcise him, but neither did he die. Instead, he left after collapsing a wall on him, and Yuji ended up becoming friends with Junpei and his mother, having dinner together and watching movies. But at night when he leaves, Junpei's mother dies. It turns out that when they went to investigate, they find a Sukuna finger which made a cursed spirit appear that devoured half of her body. Mahito told him that this finger had a curse and that someone who hated him surely gave it to her to make him suffer, so he went angrily to the school thinking it was the fault of the only one who bullied him who was still alive. But it wasn't his fault, it was the cursed spirits who had been teaching him to use his powers so that Yuji would approach and thus fulfill their mission to make Sukuna join their side. Yes, poor Junpei was really used. So the protagonist arrives to try to calm him down, and upon learning of the situation, he tells him to join the sorcerers, that together, they could find the one who killed his mother. But before Junpei could say anything, Mahito appears deforming his entire body to anger Yuji, trying to make him bring out Sukuna. But Sukuna preferred to stay in his cradle, and after deforming Junpei, he dies in front of the protagonist, making him so angry that he beat him up. There were a lot of punches. Mahito pierced his body, Yuji headbutted him, crazy, and when it seemed like Mahito was going to deliver the final blow to the protagonist, Kento appears joining the fight, so together, they exorcise the cursed spirit, but they don't succeed, because when it seems like they're about to, Mahito escapes. Still in the middle of the fight, he used against Yuji deformed people that the only way to get rid of them was by killing them. So technically the protagonist couldn't help those people but was forced to kill them, which affected him a bit mentally and helped his character development. But anyway, from there, the exchange festival where Gojo would finally reveal that the protagonist is still alive, but let's say his companions were more annoyed than happy for not having been told anything, and we met a few more supporting characters, like the second and third year students of the Kyoto school, like the robot Mekamaru controlled by a messed up guy named Kokichi, the poor one who wants money to take care of her siblings, Kasumi, Maki as Mei's twin with short hair, damn, and yes, not only do they share good genes but also the same intrafamilial problems, aoi. Like the mastodon of pure muscle who likes tall women with big butts. I share his taste, damn, long live the big butts. Noritoshi, like the one with closed eyes with Roseros, and Momo, who flies with a broom. Additionally, there is their instructor, Yutahime, Mei as the sorceress who doesn't do anything unless she gets paid. And the director of their school who tried to kill the protagonist, Yoshinobu, who, upon seeing that the protagonist is still alive, asked his students to kill him. So in the first test where the team that exorcises the most evil spirits wins, Aoi tried to kill him, but, coincidentally, both he and the protagonist shared the same tastes in women, so they went from being enemies to best friends. Yes, that's how easy it is to make friendships among men. The point is, they continued fighting but so that the protagonist could learn to control his cursed energy along with his brute strength taught by Aoi because, as I said, now they're best friends. Meanwhile, the rest of the students were beating each other up between Tokyo and Kyoto. Nobara was fighting the blonde girl but Mei shot her from afar with a rubber bullet, knocking her out. Maki defeated Kasumi after taking her sword and then went to fight and beat her twin, stopping her bullets. The panda beat the robot using his gorilla form, and Megumi was fighting the archer while Toge, after stealing the robot's phone to tell Kasumi to sleep, was looking for spirits to finish the test, but right in the middle of the event Hanami appears, and not only her, but Mahito also arrived along with two sorcerers, creating a barrier trapping everyone, which only repelled Gojo, and thus began the final super fight between the sorcerers against the cursed spirits and sorcerers. There were many explosions, fire, destruction. It was crazy, but literally everyone was fighting. The old man fought a sorcerer rock and roll style, the girls against another sorcerer with a sword in one hand. Kasumi kept sleeping, and those who had the hardest time were Megumi along with the archer, Toge, and Maki. They ended up beat up fighting Hanami until the protagonist and his new best friend appeared to buy time for the others to escape, facing a 2-on-1 fight against the special great spirit themselves, and not only did they buy time, but they also gave an impressive beating. In the middle, the protagonist learned to use a super powerful ability that very few sorcerers can use repeatedly, called Black Flash. Aoi used his ability to switch places by clapping to the point that they were giving such a big beating that Hanami came to enjoy the fight because they made her even use her left arm. But it reached a point where it seemed like she was going to deliver the definitive blow with a super powerful ability, but no, because then Gojo broke the barrier, making all the invaders want to escape. The one fighting the old man was caught by cutting off his limbs. The one fighting the girls escaped safe and sound, and Hanami barely managed to escape after Gojo demonstrated why he is the most powerful of all the sorcerers. But that wasn't all, because in reality, the whole barrier and fights against the sorcerers were a distraction so that Mahito, while everyone was entertained, could infiltrate the school to steal all the fingers they had guarded of Sukuna for his malevolent plan and 3 more cursed objects. But well, the next day, after everyone recovered from the fight, despite having lost the fingers, they continued with the second day of the event, which consisted of a baseball game. In summary, Tokyo won it. From there, they continued with their sorcerer missions. Our trio of protagonists investigated along with another assistant named Akari some cases of murder. The thing is, all the victims had something in common. They attended the same high school as Megumi. So by interrogating his old classmates, they found out that all years ago did a courage test with bungee jumping on a bridge. So they thought it might have a connection, and yes, it did, because the cursed spirit was right under the bridge. But they were not the only ones who were victims of the curse. But Megumi's sister, Sumiki, she too was unconscious, about to die, so they had to exorcise the creature before it killed her too. But, in the meantime, 2 spirits that Mahito converted with the cursed objects he stole, Esu and Kechizu, appeared, who are not 2 but actually 3, but the third, Choso, stayed with Mahito and Kenjaku, and he sent them to take Sukuna's finger, which coincidentally the spirit our protagonists were looking for had, but our protagonists wouldn't let them. So while Yuji and Nobara faced Mahito's sent ones, Megumi faced the door spirit, who turned out to be similar to the first special grade they faced. Similar because it's not the same one. That one is very dead, and after surpassing his limits to become stronger, unlocking his domain expansion. Yes, he exorcises it, gets the finger, but falls asleep. Meanwhile, Yuji and Nobara seem to have trouble against the other 2, because not only were they injured but due to a ritual, they were marked to die in approximately 10 minutes. But don't worry, because after a few beatings, they not only kill one, but kill both, freeing themselves from the curse, and thus, the 3 first years each managed to take down a special grade. The protagonist ate Sukuna's finger unintentionally. Yes, unintentionally, because it was Sukuna himself who ate it. Then, for having killed 3 special grades, they were recommended for 1st grade. Apparently Gojo paid Mei Mei to do something for him, but we don't know what it is because the season ends right there.